Welcome to another episode of This Catholic Life. Conversations about life's ups and downs, big and small, how we deal with every situation imaginable, whatever life throws at us, but still manage to be sensible, practical and joyful. Today's show is called Making Music. At a time when we all are consuming lots more of media stuff, especially the music for me, helping me lift me in this silly time, we're going to talk about Catholics making music. I'm your host, Peter Holmes, and today I'm joined by Rian Galliott, artist, resident geek, and co-host today.
Yep. It's me.
And
hello.
Also by Louisa and Marilyn, who together are called Gus and Iggy. Hello.
Hi.
Hey, how you going?
All right, thanks. Before we get started, I just remind our listeners that if you like the show, you should subscribe on your podcast app, and that way you won't miss an episode. So, making music. You guys form is it a band? Are you calling yourselves a band, or is it a special other name for this?
A duo?
A duo,
we alternate.
a group? You
Yeah.
alternate, right?
We alternate.
As in you alternate the name?
Yeah, sometimes we're like, yeah, we're a band. But like, yeah, we're
rock
a duo.
stars. All of the above.
Rock stars.
Nice.
All right, so Gus and Iggy as names. When I first heard this name, I went, hang on, how does that fit with the two names? I know it doesn't. So can you explain Gus and Iggy?
That's a good one. We actually met at Notre Dame while you were teaching us,
Yeah.
Peter.
Oh, wow.
So
Studying at uni.
pleasure. And I was getting really into St. Augustine of Hippo, his philosophy, and Louisa.
And I was reading some St. Ignatius stuff and I remember being at some kind of retreat or something and someone talking about St. Ignatius and calling him Iggy. And I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. And
St. Ignatius of
Loyola.
Loyola. Okay, right.
Yeah. And reading like spiritual exercises and that kind of thing. And
Wow.
just like bits and pieces, and just always thought that was really fun, and thought he was like his conversion story I found really cool, and we just kind of identified with those saints and started using those
So
as
Gus for Augustine and Iggy for Ignatius, right?
So
It
Gus and Iggy, you never thought of Guggy?
we get giggy.
A lot of our
Giggy,
friends.
yeah.
A lot of friends
I was
like
gonna say Giggy.
when we have a gig, they'll be like, "Oh, are you guys going to the giggy?" Like that's the thing they say. It's weird.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I was going to go with a line there, but I shouldn't. The Gus and Iggy sounds like box. It sounds like a sidekicks for the Battle Pope.
Oh, that keeps coming back.
Sorry, whenever since you've mentioned Battle Pope, it's really haunted me.
What's Battle Pope?
Okay, that's a long story. A couple of episodes. It was the superheroes episode, wasn't it?
Superheroes. It was like episode 3 or something.
No,
way back.
It was later than that. But
5 or something.
Superheroes
Yeah.
episode, we talked about all sorts of comic heroes, and Box mentioned one called Battle Pope, and there is actually a Marvel
That's
comic
hilarious.
that is Battle Pope.
It's,
Oh my
it's horrible, by the
gosh.
way. But yeah,
It's really horrible.
it's
awful.
very horrible.
Oh, brilliant.
Yes. One day we should talk
Where's
about
he in the
Warrior
Marvel
Nuns.
universe, in the MCU? Get him in the MCU.
Like, it's good that he's not.
Right.
It's good that people prefer to forget him. Anyway,
Yes.
back to the music.
Back to that. Take us back to the beginning. So how did Gus? You were listening. Sorry, you were doing theology at Notre Dame, but you obviously then not all of our students suddenly make a band. So how did this happen?
Why don't they?
Yeah.
No.
Well, that's a very good question. Maybe we could ask that. But if you tell them how it's done, then maybe they'll get into it.
Well,
I correct myself from before. We didn't actually meet at uni. We started writing while we were at uni.
yeah.
We met at church
few
events.
years before
Antioch.
Yeah, through Antioch.
Before that?
When I was still in high school.
A&T.
Yeah, that's it. Did you come through Antioch as well, Bucks?
No, I've had some dealings with Antioch. So
Okay.
Some
Some
dealings.
dealings.
Yes.
Sounds a bit dodgy.
I was going to say, if you start saying, I went down to Gus and Iggy at Antioch, and
Antioch. Giggy.
sounds very suspicious. Sorry, go on. You were saying you met.
Yeah.
So we met, when we were still quite young. Sorry, you were saying.
We started writing while we were at uni together because I had some kind of instrumental like chord progressions that I'd been kind of working on, piano as well as guitar, and I didn't really have much of like inspiration in terms of like melody lines and lyrics. and I knew that Louisa's a great singer. Everyone knew that. She still is. And
Ridiculous.
I was just, one afternoon I invited Louisa over to my place and I was like, hey, check out this thing I've been working on, kind of just testing the waters. I really like collaboration. So often if there's any other opportunity with musicians to collaborate, I'll try and, make that happen. We just kind of started this song
Christmas
together.
Eve moment though.
What's that?
The Christmas Eve moment. I'm going to tell a story and then I want you to cut it prior to what Maz just said, because this is what happened prior to what Maz just said.
Cool.
There was the first time we ever played together was, it was one of these ridiculous moments that sounds like a movie, to be honest. And it sounds ridiculous because I'm just like hardcore romantic, but it felt like a, movie moment at the time. But we went to midnight mass one Christmas Eve, back in like 2011, I think Christmas 2011, we went to midnight mass, and I went with Maz's family, and then we all went back to their place, and it was like 1 a.m. in the morning, let's all have kind of some food and a drink for Christmas, which was something that they do every year. And we were there, and I think it was one of our friends just kind of, you were playing or something, and I just started singing.
I do this thing at parties where I pick up my guitar so I can hide behind it and not actually socialize. I don't know if you relate to that.
Yeah.
And this
absolutely.
one time
Although
it went really well.
The last 20 years it's been babies for me, but now I've run out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, like the person that goes into the kitchen and offers help with the food. Yeah, that's me with my guitar. So I was kind of just tinkling away.
Yeah, so Maz was just kind of having a play, and somehow we started playing a song together called Albertine by Brooke Fraser. And it was one of those moments that was like a bit lightning in a bottle. It was just, it sounds really lame, but it really felt like something special. And we were like,
if it
okay,
happened,
we really
it's
have
not
to do
lame.
something with this. Yeah. I mean, it's the start of all of this. So that was kind of, we were like, we should play together or write together or do something musically together.
Okay. So how does that work, that writing process now? I mean, it's not all just let's go to another party and write a song.
Yeah, that's true.
How does it happen?
You mean now in the present day?
Yeah.
Or lately?
Well, I mean, if it's progressed if it's changed over time, that'd be a good story too.
Yeah, it has changed over time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of started off like, me kind of coming up with these chord progressions or like riffs or like hook lines, and then kind of bringing it to Louisa, being like, hey, like, I kind of felt like, why are you laughing?
Hey.
That particular line. You come to the door with the guitar and go, hey.
That's a great image in my head.
Yeah,
right
I'm
now.
looking at it now. It's amazing. That's good.
Yeah, and then I had like, and full outfit on with like, no, I didn't. So I would have like a concept or an idea of what that music kind of suited in terms of lyrically, but not actually have like solid lyrics. I might have like a keyword or maybe like a phrase or something, and I'll bring it to Louisa. And
how do you do that? I mean, how do you listen? I've heard you. And I have to say this, one of the stronger points of the songs is the background riffs. I've heard those, but how do you listen to that and then go, we've got to sing about the Eucharist, or something? How does that happen in your head? I just go, hey, that's cool.
This is a question for Louisa.
I think
really,
it's more, I don't know. I get a sense of what this music would be trying to say. I don't know. Like that sounds really lame.
I've just recently purchased your albums, plug, and I've got to say that mix of the music and the lyrics, it's so easy to listen to. I just find myself listening to it like all the time. So it's a great process that you guys have in terms of having that music match up with the lyrics and the themes of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, I think that's like part of that is a decade of friendship too. Like we know each other pretty inside out.
And you're comfortable?
At this point. We used to share a room. We
Fun fact.
We've been we've been really close for a long time, and so know each other really well, and I guess we're comfortable being pretty vulnerable with each other, and so working through concepts. So a lot of our music, you'll notice is about some pretty real stuff. The vulnerability or
Yeah, I have to say that that's something that attracted me to it, because when I first read your blurbs, because I remember hearing, I think I saw you threw something on Facebook about doing music, and I thought, well, I'll check it out. And I remember reading a blurb about how you came across it, and reading that you're involved in the some of the more Catholic charismatic stuff, and I groaned, I have to say, dear listener. I went, oh, God, not another one of these drivelling, happy, clappy things. And then
we're not happy at all.
We're really emo, actually.
And I listened to it, I thought, these guys actually are real. Like there's something real, and I wouldn't say it's miserable. It's absolutely not miserable. It's very hopeful, and hope is the key thing. But it's hard hope. It's hope in actual real circumstances, and I really appreciated that. It's not my regular style of music either, but you got me. So I'd say that's a compliment
that's cool.
to the music.
It's funny you say that because we both have a pretty strong melancholic streak. I mean,
right.
Louisa's a sanguine. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Greek temperaments, but we both have a really strong melancholic streak. And so that's probably what's speaking to you, Peter.
Enneagram
I'm
4
a melancholic,
as well.
so yes.
Yeah, so am I.
There you go. No, I mean, it can be dangerous to dabble too much in melancholy, but to be honest, I think that what I meant by hard hope is really quite, I don't know if that's the right
phrase. I love that hard hope. Like, that's really, really good.
Yeah,
let's use that.
Because it's not the kind of fairy floss sort of happy, everything's great, Jesus is wonderful. And he is, but it's kind of hard. Life is hard, and Jesus did it hard. And there's, hard hope is what it's all about, real tough love kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we try.
Well, you mentioned before vulnerability, and speaking as a creative, I know that that's something I try to really work with my art. In terms of if I don't feel like I've allowed myself to be vulnerable in some of my images, or that it's hit me in that particular, and you're talking about hard hope, Peter. I think my images really try to illustrate that vulnerability and hard hope. How easy, and that's me as a single artist, like just doing. How is it when you're working as a duet, as a double team, trying to work on something and sharing that vulnerability?
Great question.
That's exactly. It's only possible. I think the 10 years of friendship and the grace of God, to be honest. It's really hard. We do have to be very, very trusting of each other. And there's phases when that's easier and harder, if we're being honest.
Yeah, it's up and down a bit.
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's hard.
If you're honest with
to
each other, do you get to say no to each other? Like, does Marilyn show up one day and go, "Hey," and Louisa goes, "No."
Hey.
Yeah, that happens.
That happens. We definitely do say, we probably say it nicer than that as much as we can.
Yeah.
There's a lot of I don't know, for me with writing music, there's a lot of kind of, again, this is going to sound a bit charismatic and happy clappy, but following the spirit, this just doesn't seem to fit right. I don't feel like this is what
Catholic.
this song is about.
Charismatics don't own that. That's Catholic.
I agree, but just to be, just to pander to your, categorizing there.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So you said there back there that there's 10 years of friendship, and you've got some musical talent on both sides of the equation. You put them together. It doesn't work out like that for everybody. It doesn't just magically click, and you wake up one day and there's a CD on the desk, and that everyone's done. There's obviously a lot more work involved. There's gigs, there's CDs. So talk us through how that happened.
Yeah, I guess for us, we had to make a commitment and a decision to kind of work together, going forward. So I think what we did was release a few kind of demos through SoundCloud, and that was just really scrappy home recording based on our friends' requests, because they had caught wind that we had started working together, and they were like, "Oh, we want some of this." Yeah. So we did some home demos, uploaded them on SoundCloud. They went really well. And then our friends were, again, continuing to pester us. And so we're like, hey, this is actually pretty fun. Maybe let's release an EP. And I kind of was just like, Lou, you want to do this? And she's like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's definitely a commitment because while it's fun, it does involve a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
A lot of money, I guess, as well. So we had to raise funds. Our first EP, we owe to all our friends and family.
Yeah.
And some randoms as well. We kickstarted it. So that was quite an amazing opportunity to be able to record that first EP.
Yeah.
With all these people already supporting us, like they have no idea what it may have been bad.
Yeah.
But they believed in us, and I think we owe a lot to these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how difficult is it to find a platform? I mean, and my next question, I guess, is it more difficult, do you think, for a Catholic group to find a platform than someone who's not Catholic, just secular or Protestant or someone like that? Like, because it doesn't strike me as being something that Catholics set out to promote.
Yeah. Being in the music industry in general, the music industry is saturated, whether you're in mainstream or Christian, or it's like probably actually
There's so
easier
much
to
out
enter the Christian music kind of scene because there's less competitors, because there's less Christians. But I think in general, the music industry is like really difficult to enter into. And we've been pretty lucky having so many supporters and people who believe in us throughout the whole way. So like, for example, we've had like friends who would give us a discount to record and produce our music. And that's pretty much, the only reason we're here now.
Yeah.
Because we've been just so supported.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole process. So we're really grateful.
Just a question. You mentioned, if I may bring it back a little bit, you mentioned earlier fun a couple of times. And I'm wondering this as a creative myself. How much of your work or how much of the performances and the singing is, I guess, colored or shaped or formed by your enjoyment of doing it? I mean, would you do it? Would you ever consider stopping if you got to the point where you just felt like it was work?
That's a great question.
That's a very good question.
Just asking for a friend of mine.
For a friend.
Yeah. This is completely not relevant to our current life situation. Yes, we would definitely, we have, in fact, in the past, a number of times, taken a break and taken a step back when it started to feel like work, and decided we need to be trusting each other. We need to be, kind of in a place where we're able to enjoy this and able to make it, I don't know. I think I find the creative process so much harder when it is work, if that makes sense. When I feel like there's a pressure to produce something, it's not really enjoyable, I think. So
when you say pressure like that, is that pressure in terms of like perfection? Like when you're editing a CD and you've done your 23rd take in that evening and you're going, oh, really? Really? It wasn't that good? Or is it that when you've got that pressure when you're stepping up to the microphone and you only get one shot at it at a gig?
I'm nodding profusely right now because we are both perfectionists.
Hardcore.
Right.
And so
hardcore.
that makes the dynamic like awesome, but also really difficult at times because we both are perfectionists in different ways. And so we both want a perfect product, which is unattainable.
Yeah.
And so, it can start to feel like quite rigorous, but not in a fun way, especially in the studio, because you could literally edit the production process and just keep, fine tuning it forever. Yeah. Like for me personally, I don't feel like I'll ever be happy with anything that I release.
Yeah. Right.
What about you, Lou?
There's a saying they say that no artist ever considers their work finished.
Yeah. Or good
100%.
enough, really. Is that bad?
Yeah.
Maybe
you
that's
just have to get to hopefully you mature to a point where you just realize, this is releasable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's basically where most of the stuff that you hear of ours is.
Yeah.
In our minds.
Right.
I think for me, the pressure is about the creative process. So actually writing music, playing music together. So gigs, pub gigs, performances, most of the time I find pretty enjoyable. I find that pretty fun. The hard part for me is the creating something new and feeling like that is significant and worthwhile for people to listen to or good enough,
Right.
Trusting in my own ability in my own songwriting capacity. Wow, we're getting pretty real here. Like, let's do this. I find that more challenging. That the pressure on me is not necessarily even kind of what you were describing, Peter, stepping up to the mic at a gig, or it's the actual writing process. It's the
Right.
I'll write something one day and be like, oh, this is okay. And then listen to it a couple of days later and be like, this is garbage. What the hell was I thinking? Like, so that is hard. And when that starts, when it feels like this pressure to create something, it's not for my own self-expression, it's not for the purposes of my own, spiritual journey, to be honest, because a lot of the writing process for me, any creativity I find is a spiritual, a spiritual experience.
So coming back to the whole vulnerability question, have you ever had any criticism that really made you stop and think and go, whoa, hang on, I've got to change something?
I think for the most part, we've had a lot of support and encouragement and people being really, really wonderful. Some of our music that we intend to be used for corporate worship, or, that we really want to make sure, like, some of our music is more for personal prayer than for corporate worship, if that makes sense. And so it's
devotional more than worship.
That's a good descriptor. But the stuff that we want to use for corporate worship, we generally try to get it checked over theologically before we release it to the public.
Sure.
And sometimes there's still discrepancies, but mostly we try to get it checked over to make sure that what we're singing is legit.
Absolutely. It's a good thing to do. Even our heartfelt expressions of joy and truth can often make an unwitting error, so it's worth checking over. Now, you mentioned a couple of gigs off air, and I know you've been in a couple of big places. What would you say is the biggest and the smallest gig you've had?
Oh,
biggest gigs probably ACYF.
Definitely.
That'd be right.
Definitely ACYF.
Australian Catholic Youth Festival.
Yes.
So in Perth last year.
How big was that?
That was 6,000 people.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
6,000
I did not know
people.
that.
Not many
It was a
musicians
lot.
can claim that as their biggest gig.
And probably more actually for the final mass. There was probably more than
that's
that for the
true.
final
That's
mass,
true.
even closer to 10.
Very cool. Did you notice a
so
hit
it was
on your songs
huge.
on the
Yes, we
Spotify
did.
after that? You did?
100%. Yeah.
It was really wonderful. That was an incredible experience. We're so grateful to have been able to be a part of that. To be able to serve the church in that way, and to share our music in a way that has helped so many people pray. That was exceptional. That was definitely
Excellent.
the biggest gig that we've done.
Now the smallest one.
Smallest one.
I feel like there's been a lot of headlines, like pub gigs where no one's turned up.
What about the one at Parramatta? The lights one.
Oh, yeah. There was one at Parramatta last year that not a lot of people turned up to either, but
It was a cold winter's night.
it was, yeah. And I mean, there's a lot in our living rooms that no one turns up to, but we really enjoy them.
They're more fun ones.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't know. I like the small ones because I feel like I can experiment a little bit more and kind of get away with it because I don't feel like it needs to be perfect because there's not as many people there, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It also gives them a unique experience too. They're not just getting your kind of cut and paste one.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how does being a Catholic affect your writing and or performing? Do you think it makes a difference, or is it just that you happen to be artists who are Catholic, or is there something different about the way Catholics would approach this?
Yeah, I think it does affect how we present ourselves. I guess knowing that we are, daughters of God, like heirs really to the kingdom. That's
pretty cool.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like a pretty massive identity to kind of try and step into, and I guess we try and present that when we're playing live as well as recorded. And we're quite mindful that that's what we're trying to communicate because we do tell people that we are Christian. So, like, if you're going to tell people that you're Christian, you better act like it, kind of thing. What do you
Fair
think?
enough.
Yeah, I think most of the stuff that we write, most of our music is about life and the stuff of life. And we've found that a lot of people who are not necessarily Christian can relate to some of our music. However, it all is from our spiritual journeys and, our walk with the Lord. And so I think, very heavily influences our music.
Yeah.
So does being a Catholic change your goal in music? Like, you often hear about people's goals.
Yeah. It probably informs our goal quite a bit. Because the goal of a Christian is not really to glorify yourself. A lot of musicians, enter the scene to gain, I don't know, plays or it's statistics based.
Yeah.
Fame. They're trying to make some money, maybe a bit of fame, maybe a bit of recognition and success. But I guess for us, it's kind of more about glorifying God. Like, and if just one person hears one of our songs and is brought to a deeper relationship with God, or like, even is brought to like question their existence or question who God is, like, I'm happy.
Start that journey. Yeah, then we've done our job. I think, in terms of goals, one of the key things for us is one of the key reasons that we started releasing our music was because the friends that had heard it had talked about how much it had helped them to pray or to process their own walk with the Lord or whatever. And so really that's a key goal for us, which I think, wouldn't be the case if we weren't practicing Catholic Christians. So
I'm not sure what it's like for musicians, and especially if there's the two of you, but the whole, you write music, you write the lyrics. Have you ever written songs out and then realized that you could sort of pick this song, pick that song, and sort of we'll stagger these releases and have these ones for this album with this theme, these ones with this album for this theme? Have you ever encountered that kind of conversation with each other, saying, "Hey, let's do this for this album," and
100%,
things like that? Because
yeah, definitely. So I don't know if you noticed, but I Still Wide doesn't really have any mention of like the words Jesus or God or anything like that.
It's not explicitly Christian at all. And that was intentional.
And that was intentional because we wanted people that are not necessarily of the faith to be able to access it and to still be able to relate with the human experience, essentially, because that's what we're trying to sing about, our personal kind of, journeys. And then for Jonah, that was explicitly Christian in terms of we talked about it being, there's
a reason it's called Jonah. The reason it's called Jonah is because we kind of felt like it was our actually doing what the Lord had asked us to do in the first place. Much like Jonah, when the Lord was like, go to Nineveh, he's like, no. We kind of feel like we did that a little bit. And we're like, no, we're gonna be relatable to the secular world, and which I still think was important and is important.
Yeah.
But we feel like this was our coming back and saying, okay, Lord.
Yeah, Jonah's motivation for not obeying God was that the Ninevites perished.
Right.
Well, no, you were just trying to be nice, and
we were. Yes, we were trying to the opposite of that. Yeah.
Yes.
With that process you're talking about it, and then talking about the themes for albums, I guess. Have you ever been halfway through and then gone, hey, I really feel like there should be a song about this when we talk about this theme, and then just been stuck with like musician's block because of it? And how do you deal with that block in creativity if you've gone through it?
Yeah.
I find that less so with like whole projects, EPs or whatever, and more so with individual songs, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I often get stuck on the process with individual songs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just speaking as a creative because I've, as many people know, I'm stuck at the moment on this series on the mysteries of the Rosary.
Oh,
and
cool.
I'm stuck on it because there's an image I'm doing that I've done maybe 3 or 4 iterations on, and none of them have really spoken to me yet. That I haven't really been able to. So just in terms of that block and the whole. Yeah.
Look, if I had an answer, we would have more finished songs than half-finished songs. We have way more half-finished songs, I think, than finished songs.
Would you say then that that's actually really important to just start writing, even if you don't finish that the whole process requires that trial and error?
Yeah.
Speaking as perfectionists, as creatives, would you say then that that's part of it, and part of it is the humility to be able to accept that you get things wrong?
Yeah, 100%. I think starting that process like can be really scary because you're just like, oh, but it's just like an idea, or I don't want to like come up with this half-baked good that's going to just be useless sitting in the corner collecting dust for years. But that's literally how a lot of our stuff came about, really. So what was that one song that I had a riff for like 4 or 5 years?
Oh, it was Restless Guest.
Yeah.
Which is now finished.
Yeah. So I'll just start.
You were playing that riff for literally like 5 years.
Yeah.
So hang on, is that one's finished now and it's ready to come out?
Yeah, it hasn't been released yet, but yeah.
Oh, look, you heard it first here, guys. A new song. Well, then my next question is about styles. The style of music seems to come from yourselves, like it's the style that you're familiar with and you like. Do you think that there's some styles that don't suit the kind of content that Catholics might put together, or you think that there's some that definitely lend themselves to that?
I know I have friends who want like a Catholic hardcore heavy metal album, Marilyn included. So I don't know.
I'm into Metallica. Like I like my heavy stuff. I'm also in like a folk metal band.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
called We the Elect. So yeah, I love all genres of music.
We need to talk.
Yeah.
Because I think that in terms of the prog metal scene, it's distinctly lacking in decent Christian content.
I totally agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason that Christian themes can't be applied to most music, like most styles.
I mean, styles are just style. They're neither good nor bad. They're just a style, really. They don't have any moral value to them.
There's some of them, though, that seem to be like lend themselves to certain things. So, for example, there's a reason why goths have the styles that they do, and there's a reason why, particular emotions tend to, flock to certain styles of music. Yeah. Styles express things in different ways. But,
they do, I guess.
Yeah. So,
but I think maybe different styles could express different parts of the journey.
Yeah.
I don't know. Even in our music, I think there's a lot of variation in our songs in terms of the
Do you
style.
think?
I
Not
guess.
really.
You don't think so?
Yeah.
I think so.
So we're having a creative discussion now. I really like most styles of music except for country and western, but I would say that
No, Peter, no! Oh, pick your audience.
Country.
Hardcore country fans over here. Maz converted me years ago.
There you go. So you'll have to tell me some that I should like after this.
Oh, we will.
But I like most styles, but I can't say that I've ever found progressive metal or rap or any of those styles as devotional. Like, you just see what I'm saying? So one of the things I really enjoyed about your CDs was that I can actually pray to them and with them and through them.
That's really
a
wonderful
very
to hear.
important thing. So we're getting towards the end of our time. Now's the time for me to ask you, what would you say to a young aspiring musician? Like, what advice would you give the younger self?
Go for gold. Just do it. And don't worry about the quality. Make some crappy home iPhone recordings. You just have to start the process and, be okay with it being crappy to begin with, because, with more practice and with more experience, you'll start to refine what you want to be able to make. And that process is really important.
Fantastic. Louisa.
I like that. I think I would give probably the advice that I try to give to myself still, which is that you'll never know if it's going to work if you don't try, and it's worth trying to find out. And your voice matters. What you have to say is important. So figure out how the Lord would have you to use that, how the Lord would have you use it.
Yeah. Cool.
The best way you can glorify.
That's it for this week's podcast. If today's discussion got you thinking or arguing with your podcast device or singing along, let us know. You can check us out on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or Discord, and you can find all the links to the wonderful music of the ladies on the show in our show notes on the website. Be sure to write us a review on iTunes and tell your friends. This is a uniquely Australian Catholic podcast, and we think that's an idea worth getting behind. So get everyone else involved. Before we go, would you like to say hello to anyone, Marilyn?
Yeah, I want to say hello to my mum and dad. I don't know. Is that cute?
That's cute.
Hi, mum and dad. And my little niece, Hannah.
Oh,
She has no idea what this is, but
right.
One
Yeah.
day she'll listen to it.
yeah.
Louisa.
Likewise, my shout out will be for my 3.5-month-old bub, Joy, who I'm going to go and feed now. And
Lovely.
my hubs, Cole. He's wonderful.
I love how that last shout out was you did the hubs sort of got a more silent shout out. And hubs call.
My hubs,
Box.
Cole.
Your turn.
This conversation's been really great in terms of creativity, and of course I've been asking those questions. So I want to shout out now to those artists that I've been working with for as long as this podcast has been going, really, and trying to form something, because I know I'm not easy to get along with sometimes. So really, thank you for your patience.
I'm going to shout out to my lovely wife, who has held the family in some kind of semblance of order in this time of silly lockdown in COVID, and she's really doing fantastic at keeping us all sane and keeping us all organised and keeping us all fed and happy and healthy. So, shout out to her. That's all for now. Thank you for listening to This Catholic Life.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.